Hi friends, welcome to Bookish Bliss, our virtual book club. Every week we will dig into a section of chapters in our favorite books. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 53 of Bookish Bliss. We have a lot to discuss today.
This week we are covering chapters 21 to 30 of Onyx by Rebecca Yarros, so you don't have to read the whole book to listen, you just have to be caught up on the chapters we're covering. Amanda, darling, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking some more free seltzer from BT. Tonight we have a Poland Spring lime-flavored sparkling water.
I watched you carry all this free sparkling
there's been
water
more.
from your aunt.
That was only
this
the
is
first.
more?
Yeah, that was only the first fucking haul.
She's like, why is my Tesla so heavy?
Literally.
She had like carts and carts of fucking sparkling water in her trunk.
And I got round 2 of that, and it's all in my basement now.
Perfect.
Don't ever have to buy it again, probably till the summer.
That's good though.
Yeah, it works out for me. What are you drinking tonight?
I am having some water.
Nice.
On my health journey.
Oh, yes.
It is not a cheat night for ginger ale and the chemicals. That was last night.
That's good.
So, cheers to episode 53 of Bookish Bliss and part 3 of Onyx Storm.
Yay,
cheers! I like to just do a quick reminder every episode that we do of Onyx Storm that me and Amanda have not read past chapter 30. So if we say something crazy or you know that we're super wrong about any of our theories, just laugh at us and we can all talk about it during final thoughts.
Yes. Don't spoil anything for us, and we won't spoil anything for you guys following along with us.
Exactly.
Also, I haven't read in a week, so I am so fucking excited to finally be recording so we can keep reading.
I'm just like, we've been so busy, both of us, with just so much going on.
I know.
And I'm excited to be recording, but I'm also exhausted. But I will bring the energy just because I'm excited to read the next section of chapters.
Yes, we love it. All right, let's get started with the good stuff then and break down Onyx Storm Part 3. Take it away, Megan.
I love when we just pick up right where we left off. We are heading, though, to our first aisle, which I'm very, very excited about. We've been hearing about these aisles since Fourth Wing, and now we actually get to go to one.
I know.
So I'm very excited about that. But we're going to have a little pit stop in Athmine and Corden, just because our flyer friends and our griffins cannot keep up with their dragons.
Yeah,
but
they're little slow pokes.
Lots of fun scenes on the way.
Ooh, okay. So the epigraph for chapter 21 is, Tyrander was the last to cut contact with the Isles. The province has a reputation for its cunning leadership, but in this case, I would add astute. Subjugated the second uprising of the Crovlin people by Lieutenant Colonel Asher Soaringale.
I love that his name is Asher. I don't think we've talked about this before. But I talked about it to you, but not on the podcast. And I love that his name is Asher. Asher is like one of my top boy names. And now I just love this even more.
I know. And I feel like it's more personal now. Like he's actually a person and a character in the book. Now that he has a name.
Violet's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Violet's dad's research. So they are on their way to Deverelli, but first they have to stop in Athmine for the night to test the limits of the Griffins. Then they're going to head to Corden to rest for a day or two, depending on the Griffins and how they do, before taking off to their final destination. The Griffins are struggling, but also they're carrying the prince and his redhead, the liaison, in baskets. So, which is kind of cruel because they're already slowpokes, but they're just like, tag on a couple extra people. It's fine.
Yeah, because the dragons aren't going to do it.
No.
So these poor griffins are struggle bussing behind the dragons. Like, and the dragons are like, la, la, la. Also, I've seen so many TikTok videos of Halden in this basket.
I know, I can picture him too.
It's just so ridiculous.
I can picture him as like either super scared, like holding onto the sides like this,
yeah,
or like wicked bored and pissed that he's in a basket like this.
So funny.
Hmm.
Taryn would like to continue on this journey without the prince and his guard, but Violet reminds him that they need him to speak for Navarre.
Mhm.
Taryn says that when they find the Irids, that only Indarna will matter. Violet is all for ditching the prince once they find the Irids, though.
Hell yeah, me too.
Same. Bye bye.
Bye.
And Darna does not like the snow, and Terrence says maybe she's like Sigale's kind because they favor warmer climates.
Mm.
And Darna still has retained her healthy appetite, and she's very excited to try goats.
A little different from sheep, but a little gamier, I hear.
Yeah, I love her commentary on food
I
items
know.
and how they constantly have to stop her from eating weird things.
Literally. But if you think about it, well, I guess not really teenage girls because they probably never eat, but
Yeah,
teenage boys,
they eat
this is what it
everything.
reminds me of.
She's a growing gal.
Yeah.
Taryn is going to keep Violet's father's book with him for safekeeping while they are in Corden. They also will not let Indarna take her harness off, which I think is so funny. She's like, "This is embarrassing. Can I
Yeah.
take this off?" And Violet and Taryn at the same time are like,
No.
"No!"
She just wants to be an adult so bad.
I know. Also, I would like to see Halden trying to get out of his basket
Yeah.
because it just sounded so ridiculous when he was doing it.
Is this like a basket, like a hot air balloon basket? That's what I'm picturing.
I think so, but it
Okay.
seemed like tall to like only fit their person, but I feel like that's super uncomfortable for the amount of hours that they were flying.
I know, and how is it on the griffin? Like, on its back? Like a
Like, or is it
backpack?
in its mouth? I don't know. No, like in its claws,
Oh.
maybe?
Oh, okay.
I feel like it needs to be like harnessed to them so
Well, it
it's
has to be in the middle too, because if it favors one side, they're definitely going down.
I don't know. This just sounds like a bad idea with
Yeah.
these griffins.
Literally.
Taryn is like, I don't know what you saw in this guy when you were dating him because they're all watching Holden try to get out of this basket. And Violet says she was 18 and he was handsome. Give her a break.
Yeah. We're all a little dumb at that age.
We've all had some questionable relationships.
Yeah.
Zayden contemplates sleeping outside on the stones from the Baron, but Violet thinks people will think that's odd, but she will sleep out there with him if he really wants her to.
Of course you will.
Of course.
Zayden is thinking if there's no reason to wield, then he'll be fine in Corden.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally fine.
nothing's gonna happen.
Halden, when greeting Dakaris, puts his hand behind Violet's back, and Zayden does not like this.
Mm-mm.
The audacity.
The audacity.
Halden tells Zayden he is not here as a professor capacity, which I loved this part. I don't know if you did too. Zayden's like, but am I here as a professor? And he's like, no, you're not. You're just the Duke of Tyrandor and blah, blah, blah. So Zayden's like, oh, great. Just was clarifying.
Yeah.
And scoops Violet up into his arms and brings her into his room.
He's like, say it one more time. Another
So,
professor?
yeah. So I won't be breaking any rules
Yeah.
when I sleep with Violet.
Yeah.
Takara says that they are low on bedrooms because the extra security, and they are one of the last cities in Portmail to be standing.
Mhm.
Once they are in Zayden's room, Violet thinks it just feels right to be in Zayden's arms.
Aw, some romanticy.
Thank God. Well, I said the other day, I said, this is a romantasy, not a fantasy. We
Yeah.
need the smooches and we need the penetration.
We need the penetration. Bring it on. So he reads Violet's mind again, and she's like, okay, I didn't say that out loud, so what the fuck? And Zayden
Mhm.
is like, you must have pushed it down the bond, because I didn't push into your intentions. But Violet's like, or is your signet just getting stronger?
Do you think that he actually, because I know we've contemplated that he just didn't tell Violet the truth, that he actually can just read her mind because he was doing it in
I
Fourth
know.
Wing.
Or does he not realize he's
Realize
doing
they
it?
can. Yeah.
That's what I think. I really don't think he realizes that he can do it. Or that maybe he's even a full intensic.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're just thinking that it's going to be more powerful, which it probably will be more powerful, being the
Well,
Venom. But
yeah, and his powers over time would grow anyways
right, that's
because
true.
his shadows were not as strong his first year as a rider
Yeah.
than they were in his third and now even now.
Yeah, very
But
true.
so his second signet would continue to grow as well. But I think yeah, you're totally right. I think he's always been able to do this, and maybe
Mhm.
he just didn't realize and he just thought it was intentions.
Yeah. Well,
But
also because they don't know anyone who's full intrinsic because they fucking kill
right.
them all off. So how do you
Yeah,
know if you are or not?
exactly.
So Takara says that Holden can't arrive in a basket. Literally. They
Yeah, I
will
love how
not
he
take him seriously.
yeah, I love how Takaris just comes knocking on their door. He's like, "I need to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
No
He's
time
like,
for resting yet."
we're not done yet."
Yeah.
So they're not gonna take him seriously if he's seen as the item being delivered, not even like as the prince. So Takaris tells
Yeah.
her that it's a 2-day journey on his fastest ship, and he will leave within the hour with the prince, and Violet and the quest squad can continue to fly for another 16 hours.
Oh, no big deal.
No
16
big
hours.
deal.
But at least the Griffins won't have to carry the fucking baskets for
I
another
know.
16 hours.
Literally, but hopefully they were a little bit stronger from it, from the extra load, and they'll feel lighter this time and be able to go a little faster.
Yeah.
So Takara suggests that they arrive at his estate on the northern coast 12 hours after him and the prince arrive. It's
Mhm.
about 10 miles east of the capital, but they measure distance in leagues, which of course Violet knows about because she reads all the books Takaris gave her, and she's read all the books from her father as well.
Yes. Takara says he needs to prepare the king for the arrival of dragons or they won't return home with as many. But
Threaten those motherfucking dragons, are you?
yeah, but Zayden says if they come for their dragons, it won't be the aristocrat that they'll be dealing with.
No, it'll be the fucking Empyrean.
Or Sven and Zayden, who kicks
Mm.
some ass.
True. Even though Sigel hates him right now, he'll still defend her.
It's like his mom.
I know. So Takaris will make sure that they have a map. Yay, a real map.
Yay! I love real maps.
He says it will be fascinating to see if their powers actually return when they reach land.
Hmm.
I wonder. So Violet tells Takaris that Holden has the artifact which frees Zayden and her to seek out the merchant her father mentioned in his research. Takaris tells them a word to the wise. He may collect rarities, but King Cortland secretly runs off with them. So do not wander away from each other and do not advertise what a rare jewel you are. And at all costs, do not make a deal you cannot keep.
Some wise words from Dakaris, who thought that we would want to have him on our side.
I know. Literally.
It's such a different feeling than I had about Dakaris and Iron Flame.
Well, he was so creepy and weird in Iron Flame, and now he's like helpful.
That's very true. But I feel like he's also selfishly being like, don't advertise like what a rare jewel you are and don't make any deals you can't keep because he's still secretly hoping
Yeah,
that Violet
true.
takes his deal to be his personal guard.
Yeah, so he's still a creeper, but not as bad.
Yeah,
But this is scary. Like, imagine them just taking her and kidnapping them and running off with her. I hope this isn't foreshadowing.
I know. I feel like we're good
Scary.
at picking up on foreshadowing, but in this book, I feel like we have like
Yeah.
blinders on. We're like, we see it, but we're not acknowledging it.
Literally. We're like, okay, next chapter. So about a day later, they're approaching land, and Violet's access to magic fades to all but a trickle at the edge of the coast. And Darna and Taryn are struggling too. And Taryn says they are just startled and hadn't realized how dependent they were on the magic.
Mm,
And Darna has to stay latched on to Taryn at this point. She even like screams,
yeah, her
and it was
wings were flapping
scary.
too hard. Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
No, I didn't either. I was like, oh God. I thought she was going to drop out of the sky.
Yeah, so I don't know how the Arids could be living on these isles somewhere if there's no magic, unless they just got used to it when they said fuck magic when they left. I don't know.
Yeah, they must have. I mean, it has been like 600 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time, so I'm sure they
So,
adapted.
adapted eventually, yeah. So Taryn also can't speak to Sigel or any of the other dragons. Their communication has been severed. Taryn and Violet, though, still can communicate, but she can't reach her bond with Xaden.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah. Why can she talk to Taryn and
And
eventually Indarna, and nobody else can?
I thought when I read it the first time and Amanda had to explain it to me, and because she says, and we're cut off. I
Yeah.
thought that like she was cut off from Taryn and Indarna, but then in the next chapter, she's talking to both of them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what did I just miss?
Yeah, so she's cut off from Xaden. Like
Hmm.
he's not part of the bond for some reason. Because Sigel could talk too, but they can't talk to each other. Taryn. Oh, so maybe that's why. Because
Yeah,
Taryn and
but
Sigale
Violet
couldn't
could
talk to each
also
other.
feel. Couldn't Violet also feel Sigale's bond? Because she could speak to.
That's what I'm saying. So I wonder if because Taryn and Sigale can't communicate, that's why she can't communicate with Xaden.
Mm.
Because I feel like the only reason why he can communicate with Indarna is through Violet.
Mm.
Violet is the powerful one here.
Literally.
Not Taryn or Indarna.
Or is it because of Indarna? We'll see.
Yeah, or it could be too, yeah.
So, chapter 22, we have landed in Deverelli and we are on the beach. And we get to just see how peaceful Xaden already is the second they land there because there is no magic.
Yep, no magic for him to be pulling from
Nope.
around him.
No
Yeah, I
temptations.
was just gonna say that word. So the epigraph for chapter 22 is: It was whispered in academic circles that Corden has supplied troops and weaponry for the Second Crovlin Uprising, but the research has led me across the Arctile Ocean to Deverelli, known to our kingdom as a treacherous isle of merchants who, to my surprise, may not have been the source of the arms, but perhaps the broker. And
Hmm.
this is subjugated, the second uprising of the Crovlin people by Lieutenant Colonel Asher Soringale.
So many epigraphs with him. I love it.
I know, back to back, couple more. We got plenty.
Well, we gotta learn what was in those books somehow.
I know. Well, thank God.
Yeah,
I've been dying to know what this is all about.
true.
So the city of Deverelli is beyond the beach, hidden in the trees. There's a long stone wall armed with dozens of the largest crossbows that Violet has ever seen. And those are definitely the dragon killers.
Yes.
Taryn makes Indarna stay latched on since it's been centuries since any Navarian has stepped foot on the Isle. And if they've overestimated the Viscount's sway with the king, they could all be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta keep Indarna safe at all times.
Yes.
Indarna, though, she, of course, is only thinking about food.
Of course.
She wants to eat the dolphinum, I guess.
Why could we just say dolphin?
I know. I'm
We
just gonna go with
say
it, dolphinum.
goat and cow and sheep.
Yeah, true. I'm gonna say
Tortoise.
dolphin. Sorry,
Turtle.
fandom.
Yeah.
But they are swimming below them, and Violet says they're just too pretty to be her snack, so please, Indarna, just stick with the goats.
Yes.
Taryn says they need to hunt before they fly back, and they're no longer alone. Violet says she'll have to figure out a way that they can do that without causing a war.
Mm-hmm. Taryn tells Indarna not to go into the ocean past her claws because if she gets in over her head, he will let her drown.
Yeah, he's like, I am not getting wet for you.
Yeah. But I think it's so cute that Indarna like is touching the water and she just like loves it so much. I just had this picture of a giant fucking dragon in my head just being like splashing around in the waves.
She's like, la la la, swinging her tail.
And she's like flicking off Taryn.
Yeah, fucking love Indarna.
Me too.
So Violet heard Riddick yelling at his dragon that he doesn't know what he's saying. None of them can hear their dragons. It's only Violet that still has her connection to both of hers, which is interessante, as we've already mentioned.
Interessante indeed. And also, we kind of mentioned this already, but Mira wonders, is it because she's bonded to two dragons, or is it because of Indarna? Mira says losing magic is disorienting, and then them not having the bond is even worse. But Mira does recognize that Violet knows what that feels like because of the serum that they forced upon them in Iron Flame.
Yeah.
Violet knows now coordinating all of these riders and flyers with their dragons and griffins is going to be a disaster. It's just going to make it so much more difficult now.
Yeah, they literally, what are they going to do? They have to actually like be in a vicinity where they can speak to one another.
I know.
And they don't speak the same language.
They're going to have to be normal people now.
And use like sign language like Jasenia. Oh.
Ooh.
I don't know why that made me think of
how
something exciting, but
well, probably because I have been seeing all these memes and TikToks where people didn't realize that Jasenia is deaf.
I know. Well, also, I think some people think all scribes are just mute.
No, obviously Violet's dad talked to her and taught her different languages. And he was a scribe. Markham's a scribe and he talks.
Maybe just in the temple. I don't know.
No, she talks
Not in the temple.
with Jasenia in the Writer's Quadrant and she's signing because she's deaf.
I know, I know. I totally knew. I don't know how people didn't know, but
Yeah. Anyways,
anyways.
tangent.
Trissa sent some runes to see if they will work out there because we know magic doesn't work out there. So who knows? Maybe the runes will.
Mm-hmm.
Mira hands Violet a lilac colored quartz and says it will protect her from the sunlight. And she wants Violet to carry it quietly, of course.
Mm.
Violet notices that there's a rune on the leather pouch too, and Violet assumes it was a protection rune. It could be that the rune protects the pouch from the sun as well, since leather cracks in the sun. But for some reason, I'm thinking it's going to protect Violet a little bit more than just from the sun.
Yeah, for sure.
Takara says the dragons can hunt in the valley 3 leagues south where there's an abundance of wild game, but humans, of course, are not on the menu.
We do not eat our allies.
No.
Takara's also secured Halden a meeting with the king.
He's so fucking helpful, this section.
I know.
Riddick tells Takaris that they need horses. Violet wants to visit the market to buy books. Good excuse.
Yes.
Takaris tells them to keep a low profile. So they're all going to go and take naps before they ride to find the merchant. And Halden is said to meet the king at 3. Xaden isn't feeling a nap, though. There's no magic, no power, no lure, no taunting reminder that he can save everyone if he just reaches for it and take what's offered.
Yes. So I do go into this a little bit more. Xaden is just standing there in the sand, just peacefully looking at the water. And Violet notes that his face is completely relaxed because of everything Amanda just described. Xaden just wants to stay out there a little bit longer before going to the bookstore, but he calls Violet love now.
Aww.
And I think this isn't the first time he's done it, but
No.
I just love that he calls her that now.
I know,
And
instead of violence,
he calls her love.
because she's the peaceful person.
I know. And he wants to soak in the view because there's no magic here. I loved this part.
I
And
know.
Violet, for the first time since fetching the luminary, seriously considers Takaris' offer.
Aww. Although I do have a bad feeling that being away from the magic is not going to be good for them.
No.
But that's just me. Although I love that they're happy and can touch each other right now.
Yes.
Hopefully we can get some penetration in before they leave.
God willing. Chapter 23. So we're going on a little adventure into downtown Deverelli, and we're going to the bookstore because we're on a mission to find something that Violet saw in her dad's books that she needs to go and pick up. So we're on our way into town, but also we get to see a different side of Xaden, this happy, relaxed Xaden that we haven't really seen before, and it's freaking everybody out.
Yeah, it's freaking me out too. So the epigraph for chapter 23 is a long fucking one.
Yeah.
The uprising suddenly failed overnight on December 13th, 433 AU, in what has been called the Midnight Massacre. The foreign troops disappeared, and the rebels were killed in their beds by Pormish forces. It is not their disappearance that strikes the scholar as particularly vicious, but their obvious betrayal. There is a saying in Deverelli, the word is the blood. When they make a trade, broker a deal, it is considered law. I cannot help but wonder what part of the deal the Crovlin rebels did not uphold. Subjugated, the second uprising of the Crovlin people by Lieutenant Colonel Asher Sorengale. Interesting.
Crazy.
Getting real world buildy in here.
Real world buildy.
They head to the merchant on horseback, which I think is just hilarious because they ride fucking dragons and now they're on horses. But I don't know why, but I think it's funny.
Yes. And Riddick thinks that this is a ridiculous way to travel. Also, the banter between Mira and Drake is still there in this scene, and I just love to see it.
I see a little romance growing there.
Like, it's very like Imogen and Garrick coded.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they just need to penetrate.
They just need to penetrate. Yeah, Mira needs a little.
She's a little something. Yeah.
So Violet is thinking they need a communication rune for the others, if such a thing exists. If not, she's fucking genius and they should create that.
That is true. Violet notes that Xaden looks happy, that he is a lot of things, but happy isn't usually one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Xaden tells Drake that he could have the lead, and Xaden is happy right where he is, and he winks at Violet. She
Wow.
almost fell off her fucking horse.
I almost choked on my water.
We learn that Violet has always been good at horseback riding from Dane, and Xaden shocks everyone by asking if Violet and Dane used to ride a lot when they were younger. Xaden can't understand why everyone is so flabbergasted that he would ask this question. And Dane says Xaden usually just pretends that Violet and Dane didn't grow up together and that they
Yeah.
weren't best friends,
Yeah,
which
they're
is
like, no,
very true.
you guys don't know each other.
Yeah. We learn that Xaden thinks he learned to ride a horse before he even learned to walk, and it's one of the things he missed the most since crossing the parapet. He tells us that horses go where we lead them, and with the dragons, well, they don't give a shit where they want to go. They are now along for the ride.
Yep. They're just followers at this point. They make it to a congested area of shops that Violet reads about, I'm assuming in her father's research, because she doesn't really tell us where. Violet takes note of the climate and how hot it is and understands why basically the entire city is hidden beneath the trees. Otherwise, all the goods would spoil so fast in the heat. So it gives us
Mhm.
a little atmosphere of where we are on
Yes.
the aisle. Violet is overwhelmed with the new surroundings, seeing fruit she's never seen, birds she's never heard, flowers she's never smelled. Scenery overload here. Even
Yeah.
I'm getting scenery overload, but I also can't imagine. Like, it's like traveling to a new country.
Yeah, I feel like we're in the Caribbean right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Riddick is like, wow, our home really sucks compared to here. But Xaden is like, speak for yourself. Arisha is beautiful, and his home, aka Violet, is first the most beautiful thing that he's seen.
Oh,
It's
it's so
so good,
cute.
but I'm also like, eh.
Yeah. Like, where is Zaddy?
Yeah, this is
Where is our
not what I want
shadow
from
daddy?
him.
This
Yeah.
is like a smooshy Dane thing to say.
Yeah.
Zayden takes Dane to ask about the merchant since he can speak Krovlish. Zayden is oddly being nice to him.
LOL.
It's just continuing.
Drake even asked Kat if this is the same guy that she was seeing slash engaged to, betrothed to.
Mm.
Riddick says maybe this is who Xaden would have been if his dad hadn't led a whole rebellion and have then everyone be responsible for the marked ones. But Mira's like, well, maybe he just loves Violet, so he's not a dick to her.
Yep, Mira's probably right. People are starting to yell at them, Firebringers, in the common tongue, so they can
Mhm.
understand it.
Yeah. And Kat yells that they are wrong too. Some of them just want to mess with their feelings, not burn their house to the ground.
Zayden finds out pretty quickly that the merchant is a dealer of rare books, 2 streets up the hill. Makes sense that her father sent her to this merchant, a
Hmm.
dealer of rare books. He
Yes.
offered up some gemstones for the information.
Ooh.
Yeah. The shop is called Tomes and Tales. Of course, they have some trouble in the shop with some locals, though.
Yes, when Violet is getting off her horse and is in Xaden's arms, she tells him that she misses the bond, but he tells her that he can read her even without the bond. He's almost messed up on the sparring mat so many times because of her watching him. Mira tells them if they get an inch closer to each other, then she's going to throw a bucket of water on them.
Mira.
Yes, they
She's
had.
like, focus, people.
Yeah, we are here for a reason, not to be making out with each other in the streets.
Literally.
They head into the bookstore and they ask the shopkeeper for Narelle.
They start yelling at them again, Firebringers, and try to attack with serrated daggers, but they don't get far at all.
Hmm.
Xaden, Mira, Dane, and Violet stop them by kicking an armchair, throwing daggers into their shoulders, knocking them out, and fucking scaring them away.
Yeah.
The shopkeeper finally yells something in Kroblin, and Dane confirms as she says, No, Mom, save yourself, to an older woman on the second floor. But Violet says they are not there to kill anyone, and she guesses that this mom is Narelle.
Hmm.
Narelle says that she must be Asher's daughter, here to collect the books he wrote for her.
Whoa.
More books from Daddy!
More books.
I shouldn't call him Daddy, that was weird.
That was weird.
More books from Asher.
Chapter 24. So Violet has to answer a few questions from Narelle in order to receive the books that Asher left for Violet.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a little mix up between Dane and Xaden, and Mira seems a little butthurt.
Uh-oh. So the epigraph for chapter 24 is, she won't understand why you've kept her in the dark. You left too soon, left too many of your plans unfinished. Now we can only hope the bond between our daughters is strong enough to endure the paths they've chosen. They'll need each other to survive. And this is recovered, unsent correspondence of General Lilith Sorrengail. R.I.P.
I know. It's so crazy how they knew that Violet and Mira's bond would be needed to be so strong in order to survive this ordeal. But I'm seeing some cracks in that bond
I
at the end of this
know.
chapter and in this section.
Well, I feel like that is also the point of these epigraphs because they're
Mhm.
saying, like, you need to stick together, you need to stick together, you need to stick together. It's almost like foreshadowing that they're not gonna fucking stick together.
Yeah.
So
Blinders.
scared. Okay, next chapter. No.
Violet seems surprised that there are books, multiple, waiting for her here from her father. The ones who attacked were Narelle's grandchildren. They
Mhm.
were tasked on protecting the books from any riders who weren't Violet.
So you'd think they would be like, hey, who are you before they attacked?
Yeah.
But who knows? I
Yeah.
guess anyone could have said they were Violet,
Mm,
so.
yeah.
Narelle calls them Amoralis, as she tells them that Deverelli doesn't worship gods. It's why they are considered the most neutral of the Isles, perfect for trade. What they call gods, they call science. What they call faith, they call coincidence. And what they call love, they call alchemy. Two substances combined to make something entirely new. I actually love
Mm.
that.
Yeah. No, I love that too.
And yay, science.
Yeah. Amanda is a woman in STEM.
Yes, I am.
Narelle says that she heard Xenon say that he would kill her grandson and how illogically, toxically romantic that was of him. Violent wasn't what she pictured when Asher spoke about him, but she's like, I guess you have brown hair and brown eyes, and Asher predicted how smitten that you guys would eventually be for each other. Well, he almost described you perfectly, Dane Atos.
This probably went right up Zayden's ass.
I died
I
reading
can
that.
literally see the steam coming out of Zayden's ears.
I was Mira. Mira is dying of laughter. She has
Yeah.
to excuse herself to go laugh behind the bookshelves because that's how funny this is.
Yeah, I can picture her and Riddick just being like,
The real Dane is like, how would you like this to go? And Zayden is no longer being the happy go lucky Zayden that was just outside the bookshop. Zayden says, like the last 18 months have gone. Everyone thinks she's going to end up with you, but it's my last name she ends up wearing on her flight jacket.
Woo!
Ooh!
Okay.
The real Zayden is back. And then
Mhm.
Zayden introduces himself.
Finally, he snapped out of his little nice bubble.
Yes, I'm like, where is that toxic man that I love?
I know, bring him back, please.
Narelle knows that Xenon is Fen Ryerson's son once he introduces himself. Narelle tells them that Asher risked all their lives to hide away his life's work with the sole purpose that Violet would find it. It was 4 years ago that he left the last of it with her, and he gave her explicit instructions that Violet had to have her intelligence and understanding to comprehend it and retrieve it. Violet realizes that the rarest item she possesses wasn't an item at all, it was her mind.
Yeah. Interessante.
Interesante indeed.
That's gonna come in handy. So Narelle has 3 questions for Violet. Then the books are hers. It's just like her dad to do this because he does it with the frickin' research, with
he
the
never,
vials
yeah,
and the little code, and now he's doing it with even this literally live lady making her answer questions. So
I know.
here we go. She asked the title of the research, which Violet knows, obviously, which is The Second Uprising of the Crovlin People by
Mhm.
Lieutenant Colonel Asher Sorengale. Thank you to all of our epigraphs for that lovely reminder.
Yes.
Narelle says that her father alluded to the Crovlin uprising falling apart because of Deverelli, but doesn't go into specifics. what is Violet's hypothesis? And
Mhm.
she initially says that Krovla didn't keep their part of whatever deal they made, but Norel says that's not good enough. And she asks again, why did it fall apart? What was brokered? And Violet says she thinks they promised dragons and couldn't deliver. So Norel tells her to explain and convince Dane.
Mm.
Dane's like, why not me?
Yeah.
Violet says that public notice 433.323 acknowledges a failed border breach attempt by Krovlin forces near the outpost of Athbine 2 days before the Midnight Massacre. The
Mhm.
only other record of that event was in the journal of Colonel Hashbay, who was the commander of the outpost who oversaw the interrogations. Violet's dad drilled into her when he was working on the manuscript with her, and she didn't understand why, but now she fucking gets it.
Yeah.
She reminds Dane of a memory where they were on the couch and her dad was pacing in front of the fire, and Dane thought it was ludicrous that the soldiers had crossed into Navarre to acquire tail feathers. Violet tells Dane to use his superior linguistic skills.
Superior.
Superior. And the interrogation was recorded in the Common tongue, but the raiders spoke Krovlish, and descriptors follow nouns in Krovlish. So they were hunting feather tails because they said tail feathers, but they really
Yes.
meant feather tails. So Violet thinks Deverelli brokered a deal with Krovla and an unnamed isle that the isle would provide the army and Krovla would provide the dragons. And when they were unable to do so, the deal fell apart and the Midnight Massacre happened, and Krovla
Mhm.
remained a part of Portmill.
Mm.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So here's where the connection with the feather tails comes in.
Yeah.
Dane is not fully convinced, as one does not just deal in dragons, let alone take babies to isles that have no magic.
Mhm.
Not when you risk the wrath of the Empyrean. But Violet tells her that his dad knew that Violet's dad's book had something to do with feather tails, which means her dad knew to stop trusting them at some point.
Yeah. And the last question was Narelle wanted to know why she left the prince because Violet was currently dating Holden at the time
Mm-hmm.
Asher dropped off these books. Violet says because of a delicate situation with one of his professors. Dane is upset that Violet didn't tell him. Violet says she never sought the crown and she hasn't spoken to Halden until a few weeks ago. He didn't love her, and no amount of power is worth staying with someone who doesn't love you.
That's right.
Oh, I love that.
I know, I love that. Narelle says her father would be proud of her and for her grandchildren to get her the book.
Mira says that she will carry the books for Violet if Narelle didn't think her father would have a problem with that.
Ooh.
Mira promises not to peek at them at all. And Narelle says this is exactly why he didn't leave them to Mira. They all have a part to play, and this one is Violet's.
Interesting. Why do you think she said that?
I
Because she
know.
tried to take over like the information?
But clearly, Asher talked to Narelle about Violet and described Dane. And so he definitely described Mira and how
Yeah.
Mira is very like the mother. And that's probably why Narelle is like, this is exactly why Asher left the books to Violet and not to
Yeah.
you.
Because she thinks like the dad
Yeah.
and Mira thinks like the mom. That makes
Hmm.
sense. So they left the bookstore 10 minutes later with 6 tomes written by her father, and they're all passcode locked, of
Of
course.
course.
Thank you, Asher.
Thank you, Asher. Later in the afternoon, Violet is taking a bath and Zayden comes in to check on her.
Aww.
Ooh.
A little penetration,
We're getting
maybe?
there. Violet tells him that she's feeling as good as she's going to get, and he tells her good, and he crashes his mouth onto hers.
Yes. Here we go, baby.
Chapter 25. Very short and sweet because, as you know, we do not describe sex scenes on this podcast, but
Well, we talk about them, but we don't go in detail.
But chapter 25 was steamy.
Yes, just
But,
what I needed.
and of course, they get interrupted at the end.
Of course, it
At
wouldn't be a
least,
sex scene in this fucking book
yeah,
series without being interrupted.
yes.
So the epigraph for chapter 25 is the most useless word in the language of aristocracy has always been and will forever be love. Marriage is a necessary evil to secure the line, nothing more. Save your love for your children. Ooh. And this is confiscated correspondence of Fen Ryerson to unknown intended recipient.
I don't like this epigraph.
This is crazy. I wonder if this is why the mom left. There clearly was no love in that marriage.
Yeah, and why Fen, brokered a deal with Takaris for Kat and Zayden's betrothal, because he doesn't
Yeah.
believe in love or
Yeah.
marrying for love.
So who is the unknown intended recipient, Megan?
Maybe to Zayden? I don't know.
I feel like it was either to his mom
Mm.
or maybe to even Takaris about the betrothal of Zayden and Kat.
Yeah, but at the end it says save love for your children. I don't know. I just feel like maybe this is like words of advice he's passing on to Zayden too. I don't know. But I don't
True.
like it that we're having this epigraph before they finally have sex in this fucking book.
I know. Yeah. That timing is not accidental.
Blinders are on. Violet and Zayden have a great time.
Finally. Zayden tells Violet that Sigale is in pain. They all are, even though they will never admit it. He doesn't think they can survive, or at least thrive, away from magic. And this is why I feel like they're going to get weaker, and it's not going to be good.
Yeah, because Violet wants to stay here on the Isle. She's like, I can take Takaris' deal. We can end up on the Isle eventually. We can stay here where, you're not tempted to be a Venin.
Yeah.
And this is after they've completed their penetration and they're all in their happy glory days. But Zayden has to shoot that down, unfortunately. I feel like as much as he would like to stay here, it's just not possible.
Yeah. Well, he eventually has to absorb magic, I guess, or is he going to be a fucking mummy?
I don't know.
Well, I guess he hasn't also pulled that much yet, so he might be okay for a little while.
Yeah. Everyone is now suddenly standing outside of Violet and Zayden's room because we have a big problem. Big. Huge problem.
Huge. And here's the interruption.
Yes.
2 of them were supposed to be flying the southern route to confirm there aren't any Irids hiding out. But they have a problem. A messenger came and King Cortland has decided to keep Halden. Zayden, of course, is the only aristocrat they'll let in, so he has to go, even though he has no interest in going. He will do it for Violet.
He's like, this is my one night that I could fuck Violet's brains out, and now I have to go save Halden, her ex-boyfriend.
Who, he literally could care less if he stayed there forever.
Yes. But if he has to go, then he's taking Violet with him.
Of course, they cannot leave each other's side or this fucking creepy king is gonna steal one of them.
Violet and Zayden head to see King Cortland. They see that Halden has fucked up royally. And now Zayden and Violet are going to have to try to talk/fight their way out of this.
Of course. I love that little pun too. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Here all night.
So the epigraph for chapter 26 is, in the first 24 hours of removal from source magic, the subject, an asim, presented an even-tempered. But withdrawal quickly revealed the subject's true nature, requiring the subject's immediate transfer to stage 2 of the study. Her results can be found with group 33B under the category Death by Fire, and subsequently group 46C under the category Death by Poison. And this is from A Study in the Anatomy of the Enemy by Captain Dominic Purcell.
Death by fire?
Or by poison?
It's weird.
I know.
Because I thought Indarna was the only one that could kill them by fire. Potentially.
I thought this was saying, if they don't get magic, then they'll, internally combust. Almost like when the magic can't come out of them at first when they're channeling. That's how I saw it.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't know. Death by poison, is their blood, I don't know, do they end up trying to grab something and then it's actually poison to them because it's not magic?
I don't know.
That's what I saw it as, but I don't know.
I just thought when Jack Barlow was in his last days, he was just going to, desiccate.
Yeah.
From not pulling, but...
Yeah, or be a mummy, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Vampire section of last week's episode.
Yes.
But I guess we'll have to see.
We'll have to find out.
Also makes me nervous, though, that they specifically mentioned an asim. And he was presented at even tempered at first. So does this mean that he's a fucking asim already?
Hmm.
Scary.
Violet thinks that Deverelli is beautiful by sunset, or at least she thought it would be if she could concentrate on taking the time to appreciate the Isle. And Darna has been ordered to stay behind while they go and rescue the Prince of Course.
Of course, she needs to be safe. Violet asks Taryn if he or Indarna are in pain, and he says Indarna shows no signs of trouble, which makes me think her kind really is there in the Isles. Or
Mm-hmm.
at least they can survive there.
Mm-hmm.
And he is cut off from his power, strength, his mate's thoughts, but he is still Nanak and starts to say his lineage. And Violet's like, yeah, superior in all ways. I know.
Yes. Taryn tells Violet that she lives in pain every day and she doesn't feel the need to tell Tarn every time her knee twinges. And he says that there's also been times when her heartbeat has elevated and has approached unconsciousness, but Violet has not made a special note to Tarn.
Whoa.
Dead.
Okay.
Dead.
Orgasm is that makes you want to pass out. Shit.
One that I need in my life.
That's what I'm saying.
Shoot.
Violet notices the Falerinia moths in the blue orbs that she's read about before. They don't have them on the continent, only the sister species, and they light up when they feed from the honeycomb, and she thinks
Mhm.
it's brilliant to harness them for light. Poisonous, but brilliant. Poisonous. I feel like that's going to come in handy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Zayden notices the blades on the guards that are coming towards them and thought, I thought this was a weaponless society.
Yeah.
Violet notes that they could use Dane right about now, which Zayden says he could live the rest of his life without her ever saying that ever again.
Me too, Zayden. Me too. The guards who tell them they are forbidden to enter the palace of King Cortland IV, ruler of Deverelli, master of the trade, keeper of the troughs, justice of the tribunal, and heir of the antiquities. Jesus, that's a fucking mouthful.
It reminds me of like Game of Thrones when she's like, I am Khaleesi. Like, whatever she says.
Yeah.
Mother of dragons, heir to the Iron Throne, blah, 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 blah,
Blah, blah,
blah.
blah. Yeah, like that literally was a mouthful. It took me like 15 seconds to get it out.
But Zayden says, oh no, we will be meeting your prince. And Zayden is trying really hard to be diplomatic, but your king kidnapped our asshole prince, and even though he wouldn't mind leaving him here and annoying them for the rest of their lives, that would make things very difficult for them back home. He has a
Yeah.
complicated loyalty, which Violet thinks back to Arik, that Zayden
Yes.
is feeling some sort of loyalty towards him at this point.
Ooh, or to the entire kingdom.
Maybe.
But
Zayden tells them to bring them to him now because he has better things to be doing this evening. Heck, yeah, he does. Taryn roars at these guards and it basically makes them pee themselves. And Taryn found scaring them very amusing.
Yeah, that was funny. I thought too.
Zayden introduces himself as Zayden Ryerson, the Duke of Tyrandor, and Violet as his consort, so she is invited in with him. Taryn says, are congratulations in order or commiserations? And Violet tells Taryn to remember diplomacy is plan A and to shut the fuck up. Zayden tries to reassure Violet that consort is loosely used in aristocracy. And not only did it get her into the palace, but it also gives her protection and the privileges of his title. And Violet's like, well, I don't really need all of that.
Yeah, she's like, that's nice, but who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Zayden said, well, I never thought that you would reject me. And when would actually be a good time for me to ask you to marry me? That's like basically what he was asking. He's like, when would be a good time for you? And he's being 100% serious. Violet is like, well, maybe when we're not risking death. But he's like, well, we're always risking death.
Yeah, literally.
I love this is like the conversation they're having as they're walking into this basically
I
tense
know.
situation.
I know.
So in the room, Takaris is there between Cortland and Holden, even though he looks like he wants to be anywhere else. And Cortland only looks, though, to be a few years older than Zayden and Violet, which is very interesting.
Yeah, but it also kind of creeps me out that he would still kidnap her. Because then it's like, what are you going to do to her now that you're only a few years older than her?
Ooh, that's like a weird dark romance trope.
Yeah. So Violet tells Zayden how they operate and what they value, and if he breaks his word once, they will never trust you again.
Then Violet looks at Holden straight at him and is like, what did you do?
Halden offered an artifact that was not his to give and trying to reestablish diplomatic connections with Deverelli. It was actually Xaden's dagger that he tried to give away, and
Mm-hmm.
King Cortland put it right through Halden's hand.
Mm-hmm.
King Cortland says Halden is lucky that he respects Dakaris because what he's done is unforgivable. It's the Blade of Orisha, appropriated for the royal vault by Reginald during the unification.
Mm-hmm.
The king calls out his pure white panthers that stalk towards them. All 3 of them are female, vicious, and all adept at sniffing out a thief. That was kind of crazy when the fucking panthers came out. I was like, whoa.
I know, that was so crazy. But speaking of that knife that is currently in Halden's hand, King Cortland says if anyone takes it out for him, then the deal is off for reals.
Yeah. He's like, let him suffer.
Yeah.
So Xaden requests to reopen diplomatic channels and secure permission to use Takaris' manor as a stopping point for a riot of no more than 8 dragons and griffins to search for the Irids while securing hunting rights and a promise of safety for all parties. King Cortland asks who he's loyal to these days, and he says if you lie, this discussion is over. Xaden says, my loyalty is to Violet, then Tyrandor, and then Navarre. Mostly when Violet is there.
Only when Violet is there.
Literally, I'm like, that's what he really means to say, but he can't say that, I guess.
Yeah.
The king assumes with their deal that they would trade again, and Xaden says it would be beneficial for both of them since they are at war with Venin. But the king says they won't involve themselves with the Venin. He says war destroys isles, blocks economies. Supplying those at war, though, that's where the money's at. They will always and will remain neutral in all things. So he's like, I'll help you by selling you some weapons, but that's about it.
That makes me think that he also has a deal with the Venin.
Yeah, because he's saying he's neutral
Mm-hmm.
in all things.
In all things.
And they obviously know about the Venin.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, can't double cross. Double crossers.
Ah!
Neutral. If you're neutral, you're an enemy. No, I'm just kidding. Violet asks that the Venin have been there, right? And asks if they've cured them or defeated them. But the king doesn't really answer any of these questions.
No.
Because he can't say, oh, we're actually working with the Venin.
Yeah, he's like, they're actually our partners. And so I can't give away all their secrets.
Yeah. The king says his panthers usually eat with them, and they see Captain Anna Windshire's head on a plate. And he orders the panthers to eat.
I'm dead at this part. I did not see this fucking coming.
No, I did not see this coming either.
No.
She is the fucking thief they found in the treasury with 6 stolen items and 5 more on the list in Holden's handwriting. But Holden says he didn't steal them. They belong to Navarre, and he was simply taking them back. Fucking Holden. Little entitled brat.
Literally.
Violet's like, Taryn? Everything's about to turn to shit. Somehow tell Sigil that and get the fuck over here.
Yes. Taryn tells Violet that he will not stand for her being devoured by a house cat. I was like, oh, Poppy.
A house cat to who?
Yeah. To
Maybe
him.
Taryn, that's it.
Holden literally says, fuck you. We want no part of you, your deception, or this godforsaken isle, that they have been taking advantage of Navarre's desperation for centuries, accepting priceless magical artifacts under unfair terms. Cortland calls Holden a thief and accuses him of making him look bad in front of his court. Xaden's like, well, if you won't accept a deal from Navarre, how about Tyrandor? They will have Orishan riders and abide by all his laws and respect his customs. Xaden goes to grab an emerald-hilted dagger to offer to the king, but Violet stops him. Halden is pissed, though, and says that he is the only voice of their kingdom, but King Cortland has heard enough. He says Takaris may live and to kill the rest.
Wild.
Crazy.
I was like, holy shit, gotta do my notes and keep reading.
Yes. Moving on to chapter 27 is a very exciting battle scene. Xaden, Violet, and Halden are trying to stay alive inside of the king's little dining area with these fucking panthers eating a fucking head in the corner, which is just nuts. And then Xaden does something bad. Uh-oh.
So the epigraph for chapter 27, short and sweet. We love a short epigraph. Sometimes diplomacy is best served at sword point. And this is from the Journal of Captain Lilith Soaringale.
Hells yeah, let's kick some ass.
Oh, this is from Captain Lilith Soaringale. So this is an old one that they read.
Mm-hmm.
So the guards are ready to attack, but Zayden says, try not to kill anyone. International relations and all, you know. They take on a couple guards, then a half a dozen more, and a dozen more after that. So they're just pouring in here.
Zayden even tosses a sword to Halden so he can defend himself, and Violet reminds Taryn not to overreact because they still need this deal. Taryn doesn't like the accusation that he's dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't give in to melodramatics.
No.
Even though 2 seconds ago, he's like, I will not stand for you being eaten by a house cat.
Yeah. Make up your mind, Taryn.
Yes. They start to battle the guards.
Yes, and King Cortland is yelling to stop playing and end this. It's the only way to kill their mounts.
During the battle, Halden is still alive, but Violet thinks that he's unconscious because I think he gets like thrown into a wall at some point.
Wait a second. I'm sorry.
What?
I just thought about this.
What?
It's the only way to kill their mounts.
Mm-hmm.
Are they working with the fucking venom, Megan?
I think so.
Whoa. Because
Yeah.
they want to go after the dragon. They don't even give a fuck about the people.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
Violet takes an elbow to the face, and as soon as Zayden notices this, he turns full-on rage mode and says they're all fucking dead.
Here we go. Zayden kisses Violet, and she hears a bunch of metal hit the ground along with every guard. Their heads twisted at unnatural angles. What if he accidentally just pulled from Violet in this moment because he kisses her?
Maybe, but I think he just did it from the alloy.
True.
King Cortland is like, what have you done?
Mm-hmm. And something falls from Zayden's hand, and Violet quickly grabs it and realizes it's a pebble-sized piece of alloy from her conduit, and there's no energy in it. His eyes were red-rimmed, and Violet basically makes him sit and cover his eyes until the dragons can get there, which I thought was so odd.
She
She's
like
"Just
literally
sit
puts him in
down."
timeout.
She's like, put your head down, cover your eyes, and don't you move. It's like putting a toddler to sleep for a nap. And he's just like, okay,
Hey.
mommy, let me sit.
that.
Oh my
I'm crying.
Like so fucking weird.
It was weird. It was some
Weird.
weird fucking shit.
Like just like run away.
But isn't it crazy just that small pull from that fucking pebble? He killed all those people, snapped their necks.
Yeah. That's how
Nuts.
fucking strong he is. It's crazy.
Zayden said that they hurt Violet, so that they were going to kill her, so he had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Violet then turns to King Cortland and says, well, shall we begin round 2 of negotiations? I'll lead this time.
Yeah. She's like, let's get down to fucking business.
I don't know if this is round 2. It's more like round 3.
Yeah. So Violet sicks and darn on one of the panthers, and she grabs it delicately between her front teeth. I don't know how you can grab a panther delicately, but sure. I guess she didn't rip her head off.
Yeah. I love how Violet, like when she was telling Darna to come, she was like, remember, we don't eat our allies. We have to play this right.
Yeah. Violet says we can negotiate and she will give him the rarest treasure found anywhere in the world. And Shira, the panther, will walk away needing a bath. Or she can call Taryn and Sigale and they can all have a panther snack before they fly back. Yep. Either way, she tells him the dragons outlived their riders, so they would have just been really pissed off and scorched everything, then flew back and told the Empyrean what they've done, and they would have been royally fucked.
Royally fucked.
Yes. She gives Zayden the opportunity to leave so that no one sees his eyes after she puts him in timeout. Or for a nap, I don't know. Yeah, she tells him to go back to Orisha and handle whatever business he might have there for the province so that nobody notices his eyes.
She literally is putting him in a timeout.
Literally.
Violet asks King Cortland for the same terms that Zayden asked for and adds a pardon for Zayden for the crimes he committed tonight and that he's allowed to return to Deverelli as a member of their Raya at any time, and King Cortland accepts.
Mm-hmm. Violet gives King Cortland a dragon eggshell, but not just any eggshell. It's a piece of Indarna's, who gave Violet permission to gift it to him. What is interesting is its color. It's darkest onyx on the bottom to the brightest silvers on the top, which fucking reminds me of our book cover.
Mm-hmm.
King Cortland says one condition: Halden never steps foot on my aisle again, or his life is forfeit. And Violet says, okay, I agree to that.
Halden's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And Violet also offers another trade that she may be able to broker for the king, and he's listening. She should have just fucking started. Leave it to the men to fuck everything up and the women to come and clean it up.
That's how it always is.
Always.
Chapter 28. We are back in Navarre, back at Biscayeth, and we're back with our squad. And they are researching where they need to go next, reading all the books that Violet picked up from Deverelli, and Zayden's back.
Yay! Also, don't you love how quickly we go from the Isles back to Biscayeth? Like, they weren't just literally never traveled to, and all of a sudden it's like a day later and they're back.
Well, it's 3 days later.
Yeah, I know. But still.
No, it's true. But we have lots of time jumps in this book.
Yeah. So the epigraph for chapter 28 is, there are times I look at Parapet at the very act of threshing and marvel the dragons have not been to Umbriel. What we call treacherous is their idea of primary school. And this is from Umbriel, I think. Isle of Dune by 2nd Lieutenant Asher Daxton. Another Asher.
Crazy. This Umbriel Isle sounds crazy.
Yeah, it does. Scotty.
3 days later, the quest squad is back at Biscayeth and they are all in battle brief.
Of course. The first years are learning about the fall of Valia in battle brief, while Violet fills Ree in on her trip. Valia is a mid-sized city 200 miles west of the Bay of Malik. The Venin are moving in Krovla again, and in the 8 days they were gone, the Signisan flyers have arrived.
Finally,
they're here.
How about Riddick flirting with a flyer who says that she doesn't do second years, but he tells her he fucks like a third?
Okay, Riddick!
I have the biggest crush on Riddick in this book.
We know who Megan's favorite character is going to be. Final thoughts?
For right now, it is.
Yeah.
Also, Kat thinks that wanting Violet as a weapon is weird since they don't even have magic. So that was one of the things that I think King Cortland was asking for, was for Violet to be a weapon for him again. And Kat's like, this is fucking ridiculous. They don't even have magic there. How can you possibly be a weapon?
She's just jealous.
Yeah.
Her mind is a fucking weapon.
Yes.
Devera asks Violet what is so concerning about the offensive in Valia. Violet says it shows southern movement. With the wards in Orisha, the Venin changed course, and they attacked the border of Navarre to strike the Biscayeth hatching grounds, so moving southwest shows a change in strategy. Mm-hmm. They somehow know about the Orishan wards and are moving into position for the inevitability of them falling.
Ugh.
Now we gotta go save Orisha again.
Now we're doing another time jump. The next few weeks pass in a blur, and Violet is thinking that she has never worked harder or been so worried about Xaden before. Violet thinks that he should be back by now. The Scenarium wants them to leave in a week for Umbriel. Violet is nervous that he has progressed to an ASIM.
Mm-hmm. I think he has. The whole squad is reading books on Venin and or Isles, while they watch Signet battles led by Professor Carr with the assistance of Garrick and Bodhi. Violet is reading one of her dad's books and noticed a difference in his writing in this one versus the manuscript he left for her in his office. He was 23 and straight out of the scribe quadrant when he wrote this one.
Also, Professor Carr is being a total dick in this section.
Yeah.
I know that he's always been kind of rough around the edges, but I just found him like super aggressive.
I know. He was being super aggressive. Maybe he's just stressed because they're really like time's ticking before they're all dead.
Yeah, maybe.
In their minds.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Dane and Violet crack the codes to their father's books, but she can't tell Mira because for the first time ever, she's on personal leave. Mm-hmm. Professor Carr is rotating in to teach Signet class today.
Mm-hmm. Garrick thinks that Imogen worked Violet too hard last night as Violet keeps like stretching and touching her muscles, and Imogen basically tells Garrick to STFU, and Violet will tell her if she needs a break. Mm-hmm. Violet wants to know what Bodhi's second signet is, and he tells her that he doesn't have one, just like Xaden. Liar! I'm surprised she doesn't call him out on this.
I know,
right
but
then
why
and
does he
there.
say just like Xaden? Doesn't he know that she knows?
I guess
Or
not.
does Bodhi not know that he doesn't have a signet?
Oh, me no, I feel like the marked ones all know that they have second
True.
signets.
Yeah.
Maybe Xaden just hadn't told Bodhi that Violet knows that he's Intrinsic.
Maybe, yeah. Interesting. So another name that I can't fucking pronounce and I'm gonna botch and I'm gonna try. Timon Kagaso takes Aura's place as wing leader of Second Wing, whoever the fuck that person is. The first years want to help too, and after some resistance, Violet agrees to let them. And this is like Sloane, Auric, our second squad, first years.
Evelyn,
Yeah.
there's a ton of names I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember.
She hands him some books and wants him to write a one-page report on each.
We also find out during this negotiation of them wanting to help that Sloane is refusing to train her signet. Sloane believes it's a destructive signet and that she doesn't like to kill everything and suck the magic out all the time.
Mhm.
She also has tension with Dane. He tells Sloane they can help by staying alive, and Dane tells her that Liam's death will always be on his head, but hers will not. He doesn't coddle
Ooh.
first years anymore, so she needs to train her signet.
Who is right in this situation?
Dane, unfortunately.
I know, I
No,
agree.
I can't say unfortunately because he hasn't done anything wrong since Fourth Wick.
I know, he's been so good.
Yeah. Arik wants to know how badly Holden messed up in negotiations, and Violet tells him he basically got himself banned from the Isle, and there was almost no deal because of
Yeah,
Holden.
yeah.
Arik asks Violet if she's in over her head. She says no, but Arik doesn't seem to believe her.
Yeah, I feel like Arg's gonna be needed pretty soon.
I think Arik is intrinsic.
Yeah, and I think he's smarter than people think too, beyond
hmm
the intrinsic abilities.
For sure. Xaden is back, and the whites of his eyes are clear, but something about the color is different. There is no gold flecks anymore. They are amber.
Oh no.
Xaden also missed Violet in their bed in Arisha, but Violet missed the bond, and she thinks that it's better than sex. But Xaden finishes the sentence for her, and she wonders if he's been honing in on his signet like Riddick did, because she didn't say that or think it. She was about to say it through their bond, but she didn't get the opportunity to before he jumped in and finished her sentence.
Yep, he's fucking reading her mind.
Yes.
Kat throws a practice disc on the mat, and Violet recognizes a sound shield rune she tempered into it. Violet says, fuck the rules. They supply and go. They leave for Umbriel as planned, but disobey direct orders. They aren't going to fly back between isles, and they aren't going to report back until they find her kind. Unfortunately, Halden still has to go since some of the isles won't talk to them without him.
Mhm.
So she's like, I don't give a fuck. This is my plan, and we are doing it my way now.
Well, yeah, because they were trying to figure out, we'll go to this aisle, then we'll fly here, and then we'll fly back, and then we'll do this, and we'll do that, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because the scenarium just fucking wants to know, and they don't want them to actually do their job without them knowing. So it's
Yeah.
like, you can't have it both ways. We're not
Yeah.
talking about like 1 fucking mile down the road here.
Right,
We're talking
exactly.
about like days flying.
Yeah.
So Bodhi has something that Violet asked for, marked S and A, the serum and the antidote. Bodhi
Hmm.
tells Violet to take Garrick so he can make sure she uses them when needed.
Yeah.
Basically saying, I know you ain't going to do it to him, so Garrick will.
Yes.
Suddenly, the second year on the mat screams and splays her hand wide on the mat and drains the color, leaving a gray circle. Car immediately grabs an alloy hilted dagger and drives it through her back into her heart. She's dead. No questions, no chance to cure her, nothing.
Why did she pull from the mat?
I don't
Was
know.
she already Venom? And then she pulled because she was like being pressured, or like I don't think she would just pull for the first time for no reason, like
Yeah.
being pressured by Car in the mat. They
Or
fight
maybe
all the
just like
time.
the anger and shit. I don't know.
Maybe
I don't
she was
know.
already Venom.
Yeah. Or maybe she didn't realize she pulled before and it was just like an instinct to keep pulling when she was in battle.
Maybe.
Ooh, weird.
Crazy.
We got Venom that don't even know they're Venom now. No, I'm just kidding. I made that up.
I just made that
I'm
up.
not sure if that's true.
Chapter 29, we are going on our second trip to our second isle, And Holden is getting booted out of this trip, and I am very excited about it.
Thank God.
We make it to the Isle. We see the tension again between Mira and Violet, and we are rudely awakened by the people of Umbriel.
The epigraph for chapter 29 is: in a culture that worships the goddess of war exclusively, blood is the preferred sacrifice and cowardice is the ultimate sin. Umbriel, Island of Dune by Second Lieutenant Asher Daxton.
Hmm.
Interessante. It takes 10 days to put a plan together. Traeger and Marin are joining the mission partially because of Traeger's healing training, but more so they can split if they need to.
Mm-hmm. Arik, aka Cam, steps up and shows Holden up. He is going to be the royal representative, so Holden can't fuck them over again. Holden threatens all of Quest Squad that they better make sure that nothing happens to Arik.
Ooh.
But I love that. He's like, I've been here this whole time, bitch.
Yeah. And Halden's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
He's like, we've
what?
been looking for you at brothels and other places. And Orc's like, those are your favorite spots, not
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, literally. So they spend a day at Athbine and another at Corden so the Griffins can rest. Without their magic, they will need to take 2 days in Deverelli. Mira knows now that some runes work off the continent, and she wants to figure out which ones and why. So
Mhm.
they were each supplied with a handful of multicolored discs to test. Violet is hoping her father's map is accurate since it's the only thing they have to get them across the sea. Tyrion tells the story of his lineage from the first of his line up to Tharius, the first black dragon to bond successfully during the Great War, then stops telling the story once the humans get involved.
Which I think is like really interesting.
Yeah,
I want to know more about the bonding than I care about what they were doing before they were bonded.
I know. It gives me a weird feeling.
Yes, no, for sure. Yeah, I'm getting this anxious energy that I don't like where this is headed, but I just like can't put a thought of what
I
I
know.
actually think yet.
Yeah, same. They make it to the island of Dune. They haven't changed much from her father's drawings, and she can see the wall of defenses, including the crossbolts. They find a spot to gather and rest, and the jungle around them is unnaturally silent, so the animals there recognize them as predators.
Mhm.
Mira says they are alone for now, but they won't be for long. And Violet says once Arik meets the queen, they will move on. She thinks chances of an alliance are slim, and she doesn't think Andarna's kind is there given how painful it is for the riot to be separated from magic. Mira says, what if they learn to live without magic, though?
But it has to be like they have to be somewhere without magic, or magically one of these islands do have
As
magic.
magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe they created the magic once they got there with the
Right.
hatching grounds.
Right. True.
Yeah.
Mira also notices that something is up with Taryn and Sigil. They haven't hunted together at all this trip, but Violet makes up a lie and says it's because they think one of them needs to be with the riot at all times. But I think that their bond is fracturing as Zayden goes deeper and deeper into his Veninhood.
Yeah, I mean, they're still beefing about it for sure. They haven't even had time to hash it out.
Yeah.
They've just been so busy. So Violet tells Mira that their father devotes an entire chapter in every book to the unique flora and fauna of every isle
Mm.
very thoroughly, which is interesting. And it makes me think of that Violet theory with her name and the symbolism and shit. Like
Yes.
maybe it is part of the solution, but
Maybe.
we'll see.
And maybe that's why they named her Violet.
Yeah, interesting.
Mira tells Violet that their grandma, Nira, knows he studied the Isles, but
True.
Mira wants Violet to go talk to her herself. Like, Violet has the time for that right now. So,
Yeah.
Mira, on her leave of absence from work, went to go visit their father's grandmother, who they have not seen or talked to in years, like,
Yeah.
even before the dad died. So,
Yeah, I
there's
think Violet
definitely
says
a
she was
story
like
there.
a toddler or something the last time they saw her.
Yes, but I don't get why there's no time for Violet to go to Lucerys. She needs Mira to just tell her what the fuck the grandma said.
I know. And also, what does Mira know? Maybe it's something Violet can't know yet, and that's
Me
why.
maybe.
But I don't know. Taryn shouts, "Rise!"
They were all sleeping.
Yeah, they were all sleeping, and Taryn shouts, "Rise! They are no longer alone." A man says it was a mistake to come here in the common language. Your magic won't help you here, Firebringer. And Zayden's like, that's fine. We brought blades. He's always ready.
Yes. So we're on our final chapter of the night. It's all Amanda, all world building. And chapter 30, we're having discussions with the soldiers of this isle, and they decide to bring us into their capital where they're going to have to battle, if I'm not mistaken, to get to have their appearance with the queen. I think this chapter needs to be explained to me by Amanda because I'm not sure I understood it.
I hope my notes do us justice for this chapter. So the epigraph for chapter 30 is, it is unwise to favor one god above another. Better to shun them all than show favoritism amongst a jealous, prejudiced pantheon.
Hmm.
Major Rorley's Guide to Appeasing the Gods, 2nd edition. I feel like the gods have been coming up a little bit more too, so
Yeah.
I wonder what that's all about. 2 full companies lurk in the hills. The soldiers tell them to take their fire breathers and depart their isle. So naturally, Zayden's like, we officially request an audience with your queen instead of leaving. But the
Yes.
captain denies the request and says she does not meet with those who are unworthy.
Mm.
Violet realizes, though, that they've never seen dragons before. So, and Darna doesn't think her family is on this isle. But I
Mhm.
have other thoughts about this, which I'll get into later.
Okay.
Violet knows their laws, though, and knows that defeating their best in combat earns them entrance to court at the defeated opponent's rank. So this is basically saying that if somebody beats somebody of that rank, they can go in,
Okay.
I think. So it doesn't matter if you're noble or whatever, royalty at this point. If you can combat your way through, you can get in.
Yeah.
So he says the fire breathers stay. Only half of them may come. So
Mm.
Violet decides to have Xaden to challenge, Ark to speak for Navarre, Kat to speak for Poromil, and Dane and herself to go. That leaves Mira and Garrick to defend the rest of their riot, which I think is
Mhm.
a good split.
It is a good
They can
split for
handle it.
sure. But I loved Dane in this part when they realize that they can speak the common tongue, and he's like, "I love when I just waste my time, like,
Yeah.
learning this fucking language."
He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I didn't need to spend all those hours studying.
Yes.
It did come in handy in the bookstore, though.
No, it did.
They are in the capital of Istal, which was only a 20-minute flight from where they were, although it took the cavalry 2 hours on the ground. The
Mhm.
place is constructed to fight dragons, even if they've never seen them before, which is exactly why I think they have seen them before. Because
And the
how would they know how to defend themselves?
Yes, and the crossbolts are more intricate than the ones in Deverelli because these ones move in all directions, where the crossbows in Deverelli only stayed in one direction, so they were
Yeah.
easier to avoid.
Yeah, that's a good point that I forgot about, for sure. The Irids are definitely here.
Or they've definitely seen dragons before.
Yeah, they've definitely seen dragons before. So the guards are inside the walls too, which Violet assumes her father never made it that far to know that. So this
Mhm.
is all new to them past these walls. They want the challenge held in this station, and they don't want them any closer to their primary temple.
Mhm.
Why? Because
Also,
there's fucking dragons all over it, probably.
probably. But also, I just want to part out this part of this chapter really pissed me off because of the way that this city was described with
Yeah,
rings and then circles,
I
circles
know.
and rings. And we're going to the third ring as we pass the fifth. But how did we know we were going to the third ring? It just was very confusing. And I did not like this chapter. I will say this
Yeah.
is like the worst chapter for me besides the end.
No, I agree. It was definitely confusing how they described getting there, using
Hmm.
different words to describe certain things. These soldiers, they have a claw in their symbol, suggesting a common origin, which I thought was interesting.
Hmm.
Basically, she was saying it kind of looks like ours or a different version of ours.
Hmm.
There's 6 pillars with all different
Symbols.
symbols on them. That's the word I'm looking for. Sword, shield, fire, water, claw, and book. First 6/signets, maybe? And
Maybe.
another interesting fact about all these fucking people in this building, they all have silver hair.
Silver. Not gray, not white. Silver. Crazy way
Megan.
to end this section.
They're fucking working with the venom because they are the venom.
Stop!
I don't know.
I
Why do
don't
they all
know.
have silver hair?
I don't know, but they're definitely connected to Violet somehow for sure.
Or does does the silver hair have something to do with the connection to the irids?
Maybe.
And not the venom.
I don't know, but didn't Theophany she have
Theophany.
silver hair?
Yeah, you're right. She has silver hair too, so I guess that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But anyways.
We'll have to read on.
We'll have to read on to know for sure. But before we read on, let's go over a couple predictions that we have, which I kind of already mentioned. This one, I think these pillars represent the first 6 somehow, because the book reminds me of Violet. The shield reminds me of Mira. So I feel like there's some kind of connection here with the first 6 and our crew recreating it, which is just basically building on my earlier predictions. And I also think, as I've mentioned too, Andarna's kind is definitely on this Isle of Dune because they seem real prepared to fight dragons.
That is true. And
I feel like them not expecting them to be there is actually going to make them be there.
Yes.
Because Andarna's like, oh, my family's definitely not here, but they definitely are, bitch.
They definitely are, bitch. I'm surprised you don't have a Garrick update on this one because he did say to Imogen that Imogen was working her too hard for your crack theory.
Oh my God, you're right. How could I forget?
I know.
Put my hand on my head and take that. Yes, and I'll add that. What Megan said about the Garrick crackjack theory.
Also, I think Sloane and Dane are going to end up together.
What? I saw this and I was like, I'm going to need an explanation.
Did you not see the tension that they had in that fucking chapter where he was like, train your signet, and the way she like kind of like was blushing when she was looking at him?
She was blushing?
I don't know if she was definitely like looking at him in a way that is not just friendly.
I thought it was more like a glare, like, my brother's dead because of you.
I don't care if it's enemies to lovers. Those two are going to be getting it on.
I fucking believe you. I believe you. But I wish better for Sloane.
We don't know. Dane could be a freak in the sheets. We have no idea what that man is capable of.
I was just going to say, too, Dane would probably be the best husband because he's such a rule follower. He would follow every single vow, like, so good. He would be the best husband.
He's just super smart. He gets shit done. He's a good fighter. He was like one of the best in his year.
Yeah.
With fighting.
Yeah, he's a wing leader.
He's powerful.
Sloane is just following in Violet's footsteps. So cute.
So cute.
Oh. All right. Well, let's end this episode so we can go and fucking read finally after a week of waiting.
Yes.
And that's all we have for you today. Please let us know what you think by leaving us a review and comments on any of the platforms you are listening/watching on or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in.
Yes, don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and tell all your friends about us. And we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye!
Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week where we start part 4 of Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, covering chapters 31 through 43. Happy reading!